Hello and welcome to Connections. We are a Bible study of the New Hope Missionary Baptist Church, and we are physically located in Jersey City, New Jersey, just across the Hudson from Manhattan, New York City. So we're glad to have you aboard, and we want to thank God for you. Our prayer, as always, is that we're hoping and praying that everything is well with you and your family, and everything is okay at your house. So thank you for joining us. We are in the middle of a timely study we like to think on grief, how to navigate grief. Now, I want to be honest with you, this is a very difficult topic for us to be delving in at this time. Um, our church family has recently suffered a tremendous loss. And God, in His great wisdom, had already had us put in place this course. So we're actually walking through some of the wounds, some of the hurts, and some of the things around grieving, mourning, and loss. So it's a good course. We hope that for you to invite a family member, a friend, maybe somebody you know who has recently lost someone, or maybe that loss has been a while ago, but the stabbing pains, the, uh, the the difficulty getting oneself on track may still be presenting itself. So, as always, where prayer is for you to learn, and we are learners together. The best way to interact with this course is by putting your comments in the comment field, which is right below. Uh, we will have questions to ask. We'll be asking you to do a lot more in terms of reflection, in terms of thinking through ideas, and we're going to need your support to help us gauge where we are and make sure that we are presenting something that could be beneficial to as many people as possible. Okay, so the course is entitled uh, Navigating Grief, and this is part 5. Now, we have 2 more sessions that we're going to be dealing with, so uh, we're a lot of stuff to unpack and a lot of stuff to deal with. Okay, so we're going to jump right into it. As always, we're always grateful to God for our family and friends who join us by way of Facebook and YouTube. Um, now, this is our question, okay? Um, one of the things that we find out about grief and about mourning is that it's hard to mourn and grieve privately. Some people feel like it's something you can do by yourself. Uh, the way God has made us and wired us, He's wired us for community. He wired us to be around people. And the healing that takes place usually takes place because we are open, because we are sharing with others. So our question is, whom and or what are you mourning? Who or whom or what are you mourning? Are you mourning the loss of a friend, a family member, a person? Are you mourning the loss of a relationship, a marriage, uh, maybe a courtship? Uh, are you mourning the loss of a job? Maybe you lost your home, the financial downturns, or maybe you know, just forced to move to another place where you had to leave family, friends in a comfortable environment. And all of those things cause us to mourn, cause us to grieve. So whom and or what are you mourning? Okay? Jackson says she's mourning the presidential election. Okay, and that's real because a lot of people are having some serious reactions to what has happened. Okay, and hopefully some of these tips that we're giving you can help you negotiate that as well as any other loss or mourning that you're going through. So, if you feel comfortable, would you mind sharing with us whom and or what are you mourning? Okay. Um, a lot of people think that if you say I'm mourning, it has to be a recent loss. It doesn't have to be recent. Okay. It just we talk about we grieve significant losses. We grieve people who were close to us and who touched us in a major way. Okay. Um, if that person or thing or place didn't touch us, we wouldn't grieve. Okay. So, um, it's not unheard of for people to mourn the loss, the death of a family member, friend, 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Okay. So, whom and or what are you mourning? Okay. Uh, Deacon Anderson says, mourning not being close to my sister's children after her passing. Okay. All right. Yeah. So that's we talked about before, like loss of relationship. It's not just, and we talked about the primary losses and secondary losses. When we lose a family members, a sibling, there are a spouse, there are some definite losses, but then there are secondary losses like income, like family, extended family, different things will come up. And those are all things that we have to learn how to process. Okay? All right. Sharon says simultaneously, mother in 2019, guess that's fiance and last year in presidential election. Did I get that right? Okay. And Reverend Tyler says her parents. Okay. All right. So if you can identify whom it is or what it is that you're mourning, you're in a place to either start the journey or have a successful journey through the grieving process. That's one of the first keys is you got to know what you're mourning, who you're mourning, where, uh, what person, place, or thing. If you can identify that, that kind of gives you a head start, a jump start on other people who don't know what it is that's bothering them. Okay, so let's go. All right, how would you describe the feeling of grief in one word? If we go around the room, it will ask you to describe grief in one word. So let's go back. I see some more people have responded to our question about whom they are mourning. Says her mom, her dad, sister, and brother. Wow, that's a family, right? And you know, I think, Roz, what you might begin to realize is that while we mourn all of these losses, we mourn them, each of them differently. They each mourned differently. It's not like, okay, I cried this amount of tears for everybody, uh, you know, but they're all significant losses, okay? Uh, okay, let me see, I see. Lenise said heaviness, okay? We're going to get into that in a few seconds, okay? Sadness, okay? Okay, okay. So here we go. Let's go back to our question on the floor. How would you describe the feeling of grief in one word? Heaviness. Okay, that's a very good word. Sadness. Interesting word. Stuck. Okay. Hard. Okay. Let's see, Reverend Scott is on. He says, mourning the loss of morality in America. Okay. Another word, numb. Numb. Okay. Um, these are all great descriptors of what it feels like to experience grief. Okay. Hurtful. Okay. Okay. And you notice that people aren't repeating the same phrases. Everybody, but these phrases, they kind of, they delve into the rich range of emotions that we feel when we grieve. Okay, so grieving is that inside, what happens on the inside of us when we lose someone, someplace, something that's significant. Mourning, on the other hand, is what we project on the outside, what people see as we go through uh, this journey of grief. Okay. So now I've been starting off talking about some of the resources we use. I'll make this big so you can see it at home. Faith Doesn't Erase Grief. I think that is an excellent resource. Kate Meyer, who is an MD, is a clinician, she puts this out uh, to Christians who there's some people who think, just have faith, just trust God, it's going to work out. Well, when you have a loss, it doesn't just always fall into place. It just doesn't always work out, and it doesn't mean that your faith is is it's not strong. Doesn't mean that you don't believe in God. It means that you've lost something, someplace, someone who is significant to you, and you're going through a process. Okay, so this book, Grief, Living at Peace with Loss, is a great book June Hunt wrote. Small book, a lot of good factoids in there. It's biblically based. I really endorse it. Reflections for the Grieving Soul, meditations and scriptures to help people find hope and peace after loss. Okay, it's a good book to, if you want to give somebody something during the holiday season. I think that would be a good book for somebody to read. It's not hard to read. It's a meditation on a page. It's one Bible verse on a page. So it's not difficult to get through. Now, Kurt Keneally's book, Navigating Grief, it's an interesting book, I think, because he writes in a narrative form about grief, talking about his life and his experiences and what he went through and what people around him experienced as a pastor, as a chaplain, as somebody who had been, uh, acquainted with grief, as it were. Another set of resource is one that we use primarily as our text for this class. It's Navigating Grief. It's a workbook. It is, I think, a fabulous resource. I keep it handy. Very, very good insights. A lot of the stuff that we're using, I pull right from uh, Anna Darbone's book. So, kind of gives you the steps, helps you understand the process, and gives you tips on how to negotiate wherever you are in the grief process. Okay? All right, so let's go. Now, grief, as we've been saying, is the natural response to a significant loss. There's nothing wrong with you when you grieve. It's what people do. Okay? Uh, Now, this class, I've got to give my disclaimer. I know some of you have heard it this will be the fifth time. I'm going to try to make it shorter real quickly. Uh, if you feel like you are in a place where you could do harm to yourself or somebody else, I urge you to immediately seek professional advice. Okay, don't go saying Reverend Perry told me to do X, Y, Z. Okay, the reason why I say that is because I have a PhD in Christian leadership, but I don't have a PhD as a therapist or as a psychologist. So I don't have a license. Okay. And this course is based on my years of experience, based on as a pastor, as someone who's been there when people have transitioned. I've seen people breathe their last breath. I've been with families who have, been through the emotional ringer. But I don't provide medical advice. I don't provide professional diagnoses or opinions or treatment services to you or any other individuals. Okay. Now, in our last episode, we talked about the weight of grief. Okay. And when we asked the one word description of what it's like, one word to describe. Let me see if I got that. One word to describe the feelings of grief in one word. Denise Gray said heaviness. Heaviness. Okay. And that's kind of where we left off in our last episode. We talked about the weight of grief. Anybody who's mourned significant loss will tell you that it's heavy. Okay. And we talked about holding the weight of grief. We liken grief to like this guy here has on a some weights. He had these weights that he's carrying are over 100 pounds. Okay. So imagine you are 125 pounds and you carrying around weight that's 100 pounds. It'd be hard to get around, it'd be hard to function. Okay. Imagine you're 200 pounds and you're carrying around weight that's 150 pounds. It'd be hard for you to go about your daily business and do what you got to do with this heaviness on you. And that's what grief is like. It's like an albatross around one's neck. It's like a heavy weight that you can't shake. You can't take this weight and say, hold on, I'm going to sit you over here for a few minutes while I go do my job. I'm going to sit you over here a few minutes while I go cook. No, everywhere you go, it goes with you. When you lay down, it lays down with you and it presses you. When you get up, it's with you. When you go through your day, it's with you. Everywhere you go, this heaviness, this weightiness is present. Okay? And a lot of people, because we don't talk about this, never get the coping skills that could help them to manage this weight. Now, we're going to be honest with you, okay? I never said this weight would go away. It's not like going on a diet. If you abstain from this, if you don't eat that, if you add this to your diet, that's not the way grief works. Okay? It's this ever-present heaviness that settles in over us. Some people learn how to manage it, and some people, the weight of it presses them down so much till they just can't respond. Okay, so we're hoping through this course already that some things have been said that could help you to manage this heavy weight. Okay, all right. Now, grief is a weighted vest that cannot be removed. Okay, we made that point. Okay, now I want to share this with you because I thought this was one interesting thing that in the Navigating Grief workbook that came up, and I thought maybe we could start our discussion here. Where does grief feel the heaviest? Okay. Now, this is something I want to make real clear. If you've ever grieved, and I'm not trying to scare anybody, I'm trying to just talk common sense, one to one. Okay. It's not uncommon for people who've had significant loss to have physical things happen in their body as a result of what happened with their loss. We find that the people who may have sudden traumatic losses. They may get sick. They may, you know, go through some symptoms in their body that reflect what's happening inside in terms of their grieving. Some people go through what we call a brain fog, where you're just in a cloud where things are not clear. You're functioning, you don't know how you get there. You just head's just somewhere in a cloud. I know when my mother died, I was like in a brain fog for a while. I just couldn't I could function, but it's just that this cloud overshadowed me everywhere I went. Couldn't shake it. It was just ever present. Okay. Now, uh, now when we're gonna talk about where does grief feel the heaviest, I'm gonna put a chart up on the screen, okay, to help us take a look at this. Okay. I'm gonna make this big and we can talk about it. Okay. Now, these are the physical manifestations of grief. Okay. On the bottom, I have right here, grief often reveals itself through physical manifestations. Okay. Physical manifestations. Okay. Now, here are some things. A lot of times when people are grieving, at the top left, there's an inability to sleep. They can't sleep. They go through a night, and if they get 1 hour sleep, it's big. You know, just totally restless, just can't get sleep. Okay. Now, if any of these things are things that you can identify with, just let us know in the chat. Okay. Difficulty falling asleep. This is a person who usually, or before grieving, may have gone to bed at 9, 10 o'clock, and now it's 1 or 2 in the morning and they can't get to sleep. And it's not like it's one day a week, it's every day. They can't sleep, okay? The inability to sleep, and then they have difficulty even falling asleep, okay? Now, another way this manifests itself is you get to sleep, but you keep waking up. You may have dreams, you may have thoughts, the things just keep interrupting your sleep cycle. Okay? So a lot of times people look at folk and they think that they're coping well, but you got to ask them questions like, how are you sleeping? Because that's one of the telltale signs we're going through grief is that you can't sleep or that you have difficulty falling asleep, so you stay up, you eat, you do everything else, and it just becomes a vicious cycle. Okay, and then you have difficulty staying asleep, or you find yourself always sleeping. All right. Uh, Thank you, Reverend Tyler, for sharing this with us. That was you interrupted sleep. You know, it's like your mind is constantly just whirling, just doing its thing. Okay. Now, in terms of your health, a lot of people don't make the connection to grieving, but a lot of people have headaches. Oh, my head hurts. I've known of people who, after loss, have gone to the hospital for chest pains, for other things, and the doctors give them a complete workup and can find nothing. Okay? There is no heart attack. There is no, but the, we feel it in our bodies. Okay, you start having headaches, your body aches, you have pains, your stiffness. Some people will start saying it's arthritis. Okay, I'm just telling you, these are some of the health issues and concerns that happen when we lose significant people. And you may find out that people who were in excellent health, they lose somebody who's significant, and all of a sudden they start having problems, frequent illnesses. Okay. And a lot of times these frequent illnesses are the fact that you become just susceptible to sickness. Okay? Your immune system is weakened. Okay? So what we want you to see is that a lot of times your body is telling you that you going through grief, even though you don't want to acknowledge it. So the inability to sleep, the difficulty falling asleep, difficulty even staying asleep, or just not wanting to wake up. Those are all things that are telling you that you are grieving. You never had headaches before. Now all of a sudden your head hurts. You got pains. You got pains all over. You wake up, oh man, I just hurt. You think it's the flu. It's not flu season. You got pains, you're stiff. Somebody say, well, it's just Uncle Arthur. Well, a lot of times it's the body's way of signaling that you're grieving. Okay? Uh, and Frida says has had a bad experience with vertigo, right? Not being able to keep your balance. Here, how about this? Losing your appetite, right? I don't want to eat. And that's one of the things that we talk to people a lot about, especially when the loss has been recent, is that we go through this period where we're numb, okay? And God sends the numbness to basically help us to cope with this jolt to our system. That if we didn't have that numbness, we would probably just go crazy, okay? So people look at you and they say, oh boy, he don't look like he's grieving. Well, he's numb. God has given that to help us to adjust to the fact that we have just lost a significant part of us. Okay? And so some people don't want to eat. Some people increase their appetite. Food becomes a sort of, I don't want to say this in a negative way, but food can become sort of a crutch to lean on. Okay? And then some people have aversions to certain foods. Certain foods may remind them of their loved one, okay? Or they become nauseous. They eat and then the body wants to reject it, okay? These are all signs that you may be going through grief, okay? Look at the energy level, okay? You're fatigued. You're tired. Okay, you don't know why you're tired. You're listless. You don't feel like you got the energy to go on to cope, and then none of that. Okay, these are all uh, grief revealing itself through our physical bodies. Okay, a lot of people don't realize this. So people just say, well, just get some rest. Well, maybe I need rest, but maybe I also need to talk to somebody. Maybe I need to do some proactive steps and deal with the fact that I am now on this grief journey. Maybe I've been denying it, but I become restless. Okay. I always got to be doing something. I just can't be still because being still reminds me of my pain. Then you have folk who respond with inactivity. They don't want to do anything. They don't want to get up. They don't want to go out. They don't want to be around anybody. And then some people, when they're in grief, they have what we call excessive activity. They're trying to do everything. If they could help it, they would be busy 24/7. They would never stop. And you have to tell people, look, you got to slow down. Because if you keep running your body and burning your candle at both ends, pretty soon it's going to wear out. Am I making any sense? Okay. So just want to give you that because a lot of times what happens is because we aren't really schooled in recognizing these symptoms, we just take it like for granted that, hey, what's the big deal? Like I don't go to sleep like I used to. Well, you don't want to admit it, but that's grief. Okay? That's grief. Your body is telling you, hey, you better help me. Okay? Now, now grief is hard. Okay? I don't want to minimize it. Now, the question I want to ask you right now, wherever you are, is what are the hardest parts about your grief right now? And what makes them so hard? What are the hardest parts about your grief right now? And what makes them so hard? Okay. If you're hanging around people telling you you need to be over this already, you what are you doing? Come on, get your act together. Maybe those aren't the people to be around you. Okay. So grief is difficult. So what are the hardest parts about your grief right now? And what makes them so hard? So I'll take a minute and let's marinate. Let us sit with this question. Because be honest with you, right? I never had nobody ask me this. I just celebrated 27 years of pastoring. I can count on the one hand the number of people who I've even asked these questions. We just don't talk about this. Okay? Grieving in the United States of America, it's something that we are not even supposed to be talking about. Okay? I got people like, Reverend, I'll be back to your Bible study whenever this is over. And I understand that. Because this is something that we just don't talk about. You don't hear sermons about it. You don't hear Bible studies about it. It's rarely, if ever, mentioned. Okay? We're supposed to be quiet. We're not supposed to disturb this part of us. Okay? Thinking about my loved ones or the situation. Okay, that's one of the hardest parts. Okay. Gloria Graham says it seems like it's never going to end. That's a very, very, very common sentiment. Believe it. Okay. Being motivated to do anything. Okay. Uh, Knowing I can't share with either of my parents anymore is hard because I wish they knew some of the things my sisters and I are doing. Hmm. Okay, so we're going to, in the next couple episodes before we end, we're going to talk about ways to honor grief, to honor the people we lost, uh, so that, you know, we can learn how to create memorials so that we can get ourselves and give ourselves permission to move forward without feeling guilty. Okay. Um, know that you will never be able to talk to them again. Yeah, that's a difficult thing, right? Miss hearing their voices and conversations. Wow. I think you guys have really hit it on the head. Why grieving is hard. Um, and it is probably all the things that you and I are probably going to do in this life. It's probably going to be one of the most difficult things is grieving the loss of someone, some place or thing that has been significant to us. Okay? Lenise says it's the void and the emptiness. Okay? And I know a lot of you out there, you didn't type in your response, but I think you can identify with some of these folk are saying these are kind of some of the same sentiments, either spoken or unspoken, that we experience. Okay? No matter how long your loved one is no longer here, the grief is still there. That's the gospel. Okay? So hardest thing is knowing that your loved one is going. Okay. Yeah, these are all difficult things that you and I have to find ways to navigate. Okay. So if you put up some more comments, we'll come back and revisit them. Okay. Here are some more physical manifestations of grief. Okay. I'm gonna make it big so you can see it at home. Digestive problems. Okay. Weight changes, physical pain, having a suppressed immune system, and risk of illness. Uh, our nation just went through something 4 or 5 years ago with COVID. Okay. And a lot of people died during COVID. America lost 1 million people. Okay. A lot of those people died while they were grieving the loss of other people. Let me make that clear. A lot of people during COVID died as they were grieving the loss of other people. They succumbed to some of these other symptoms. Okay, you remember early on with COVID, when people were dying in hospitals and family couldn't even come in the room. I just remember a poignant picture that still haunts me today of a man in a bed who's dying, and a family member is on the outside of the hospital looking into the room as the loved one is dying. Couldn't be there, nobody could hold his hand, nobody could be in the room with him, nobody could, and note this, that how many will never know additional people died going through a grieving process where their immune systems were already weakened, and they went through grief where they got suppressed even more. And we don't even talk about it. Okay. So we have difficulty sleeping, extreme fatigue, dehydration. Okay. You don't drink, you don't keep yourself hydrated. Memory loss and brain fog. Now, I'll be honest, I remember going through that where I thought I would never come out of it. I really did. It was like I'm just walking around with this great big cloud over my head. And I knew it was there, but I didn't know what to do. I would have benefited from a course like this then. Okay. Broken heart syndrome. Okay. All of these things going on in one's life. Okay. Now, coping with the physical symptoms. Okay. So we talked about some of the symptoms. Now we're going to talk about hopefully what we can do to deal with these symptoms. Okay. Let me put this in here. Okay. All right. Let me make this big so you can see it at home. Okay. Uh, okay. Now, let me go back and talk about this broken heart syndrome. Um, this is really emotional. Let me go back and do this. And physical stress. Okay. Um, so you experience a stressful event. Okay. Um, and what happens is it just puts so much stress on your physical heart that it triggers what we call the broken heart, and puts you in graver danger. Okay. A lot of times we tell people, look, that's not, when you go through loss, that's not the time to stop going to the doctor. It's not the time to say, okay, I'm not going to see my my cardiologist, or whoever you have to see. You need to go make sure you continue to have those meetings. Okay. So here are some things to help you cope with the physical symptoms of grief. Now, remember, we told you grief is physical, it's spiritual, and it's emotional. So we're talking about how to cope with the physical symptoms of grief. Eat a well balanced diet regularly. Okay. So You can't max out on potato chips, high cholesterol, high carb stuff. You got to have a balanced diet. Make time for 3 meals a day. Uh, got to remember. Let me just come on screen so I can tell you this. One of the most important meals that we humans have or should have is breakfast. Now, breakfast is made out of two words, okay? Break, fast. Okay, think about that for a moment. It's called breakfast because you wake up and you've been fasting. Say your last meal was 8 o'clock or 6:30, 7 o'clock p.m. And your next meal, you wake up at 7 o'clock a.m. That means your body has been fasting for 12 hours. Okay? And now you got to break that fast. And so we call it breakfast. Okay? Now, imagine what happens. You ate at 7 p.m. You didn't break your fast until 11 a.m. or 12 a.m. So here's what you did. You went 12 hours plus another 4 or 5 extra hours. Okay? So in many cases, people go 16 to 17 hours before their body eats again. So what does your body do? Your body will go into starvation mode. It starts to protect its most vital organs and protect itself. So they don't know when Perry's gonna eat again. So it says, okay, I got to store as much fat as I can to live off of because I don't know when this joke is gonna break this fast. Okay. And so what happens is a lot of times, because people are not eating, they think they're gonna lose weight. It doesn't always work like that. Remember, I'm not your doctor. Okay. So you got to start focusing on some good sleep habits. Okay. Socialization is real important. I'm talking about to deal with physical symptoms of grief. You need to be around people. You need to talk to people. Every time you tell your story, you help yourself heal. We are good at telling the story when the loss first happens. Then we're like, I don't want to tell it no more. I'm tired of telling it. But every time you tell that story, it helps you come to grips with the fact that you've had a significant loss. Create opportunities for ongoing exercise. If you don't have a gym membership, get up and walk around your house. Walk outside. You know, do some exercise. I'm not telling you to become a gym rat, but you got to start creating opportunities where you can exercise. It'd be real good if you had somebody who could go on this journey with you to help motivate you. Okay? Try mindfulness activities like meditation or yoga, things that can kind of get you to calm your spirit down and to focus and to reflect on where you are and keep you in that moment. Okay? These are all things that will help us physically respond to the symptoms of grief that show up in our bodies. Consider joining a support group. Okay? Now, I will be putting some of those resources out again. We did it in episode number 2, where we put out some resources that you can connect to. I'll put some of them back up for you in our next episode so you can find groups that you can go to. Online is a great place to go to find resources that can help you deal with your loss. Okay? Avoid unhealthy coping mechanisms. Now, by that, we're talking about uh, don't don't develop bad habits, okay, or hang around folk that are not good for you. Okay, seek therapy, get a checkup. Okay, these are things that you can reward yourself with. Okay, that can help you deal with grief. Okay. Now, care for yourself during times of grief. Now, when you have grief, okay, and experience loss in your mourning, okay? Just as someone needs to take breaks from physical exertion, you must find ways to take a break from your grief. Remember, we talked about how heavy it is. And if we are not careful, it'll dominate us. Taking time to put your grief aside doesn't mean you love the person any less. Okay? Show yourself compassion. Maybe you need to go get a massage. Maybe you need to get your nails done. Maybe you need to get your hair done. Maybe you just need to go shopping. Maybe you need to do something else instead of being constantly reminded of your grief. So if you go out and go window shopping or go to a movie or do something, it does not mean you don't love the person you lost. Okay? Uh, know that there's a direct relationship between emotional stress and physical symptoms in your body. So when we are stressed emotionally, it shows up in our bodies. Okay? That's the connection we want you to see. Practicing physical self-care techniques uh, is an early step in helping you heal physically and emotionally from grief. Okay? Uh, so here we go. All right. So we're going to talk about what we call grief activators. These are things that happen in your life, in my life, that actually activate grief. Okay. Now I'm going to put up some things here. I want you to think about these. I'll make it big and I'll talk about them. Okay. So what I want you to do is, if you got courage, okay, we want to think about what are the things that happen that activate our grief. Okay. First of all, who are the people that when we're around that activate our grief? See, there's some people that if you're around them, they may remind you. Okay. So in the top left-hand corner, we say people. So think about who are the people. Okay. It doesn't have to be a family member. It could be the fact that you had the same doctor, or it could be, any person. So who is the person or people that activate grief for you? Okay. Uh, and Tyler says her parents, siblings. So that would be like aunts and uncles. Okay. Okay. Because they look like them. Okay. All right. So remember, knowing is very important. Okay. Now, I would never say, because I'm not your doctor or counselor, don't hang around these people, but you got to know that if I'm around folk, that I may more than likely have a trigger. I'm going to have an episode. I'm going to have an event. I'm not going to go crazy, but I got to anticipate, okay, if I go here, it may be difficult. Knowing that girds me up so I could say, okay, I'm going to need some extra support. I may need to put my watch on and say, I'm only going to be here for half hour. I'm only going to be here for an hour. I may have to decide how long I want to be here because this could be a trigger. What are some places? Okay, yeah, thank you. We talked about birthdays and holidays. Those are good. All right. Remember, we talked about events, dates, activities. That birthdays and holidays would do it. Okay. Uh, Reverend Tyler said when she gets ready to go south, she has to get ready, meaning that you got to get yourself psychologically ready. You got to get yourself motivated. You got to get yourself pumped up. You got to know that I'm going to have some triggers. And then we talked about those stugs, those sudden triggers, unannounced triggers that come when we think we could be really prepared, and then all of a sudden we open a photo album and boom, or we hear a song and ooh, but so there are people, there are places that are triggered. Okay. Maybe the home that they used to live in. Maybe it's you know, any place that was significant to that person, and you knew about that connection. You don't even have to go there. Sometimes you can just be opening a magazine and see a reference to it, and it could be a trigger. Okay, grief activators. Okay, things can be grief activators. Okay, you could be in the kitchen, and all of a sudden you could smell an aroma, a spice, or something that reminded you of somebody, and then all of a sudden you got a grief trigger. You all of a sudden are now in this emotional place, and you don't know how you got there, but there was a trigger. Okay, it could be a thing. We already talked about dates. What dates trigger grief? Well, let's think about this. What are some dates that trigger grief? Okay, all right. What are some dates that trigger grief? Grief activators. Okay, let me give you some. Okay, I know you're gonna fill up the screen in a minute, but let me give you some so we can move on. Birthdays. Remember Tyler put down a great one. Christmas, right? Holidays, anniversaries, uh, graduations. Don't have to be their graduation. It could just be that time of year when people are graduating and you're thinking about, boy, oh, he or she would have been graduating. He or she would have been, okay? Here's another one. I don't know what that is, date dying, but Thanksgiving is a very, very, very big one. Thank you for that for free. Because what happens at Thanksgiving? All the family gets together. And when all the family gets together, usually we think about it, right? We have assigned places to sit, right? Now you look at the table, Uncle Joe's not there no more. Auntie's not there. Mama's not there. Daddy's not there. Brother, sister, they're not there. And these are grief triggers, okay? Uh, Father's Day, Mother's Day, okay? Ken Carter, thank you for that. Smells, aromas, scents, okay? Certain scents, they will remind you of your loved ones, okay? These are grief triggers, okay? Elizabeth Jackson said birthday, anniversary, and the anniversary of the day they died, okay? All right. Uh, so Sharon said it doesn't bother her, but pictures can activate some people. Right. See your loved ones. Family reunions. Thank you, Denise Stevens, for that. Family reunions are tremendous grief activators because what do people do? They do like, I think somebody mentioned earlier, immediate family sharing memories. Okay. When we have family reunion, when we get Thanksgiving, what do people start doing? They start talking about the old times. And then you start realizing, oh, be a grief activator. Okay. So we look at this thoughts. You may not believe this, but I hear now more than ever. I hear myself saying things that my mother used to say. And sometimes I catch myself and I say, Perry, you're saying exactly what your mom used to say. The older I get, the more I'm beginning to sound just like her. Okay? So we looked at people, places, things, dates, events, activities, emotional states, and thoughts. Are there some other things that maybe we didn't put up on the screen that are grief activators? Any other things you can think of that are grief activators? This is a very good one. Clothes, outfits. Hadn't thought about that, but yeah, that's definitely a good one because, just a reminder, you know, you'll see somebody wearing something, you say, boy, my loved one used to, wear that, like that color, or, right? Those can be grief activators. Thank you for that. Family cookouts. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. So, what are we simply saying? We're simply saying if we know that we're going to be in a place uh, that could cause us to experience grief, uh, maybe we can do something. Okay. Going to a homegoing service. Hmm, that's an interesting one. Okay. Yeah, that can remind us of experiences we had with other loved ones. Okay. Deacon Anderson said when I passed by my mother's church, she went to. Wow. So as you can see, there's so many triggers. Okay. And hospitals. Okay. I know people now who tell me they refuse to go to hospitals. They can't stand going to hospitals. Okay. Because sometimes they have an experience that may be linked to that. Okay. Remember, I'm not telling anybody not to go to the hospital. Okay. So here's what we say. Okay. Songs. Boy, you, so prescient. We're going to talk about that in just a real short minute. Okay. So, what coping skills, mantras, or supports could you intentionally use in those moments of intense grief? Okay. Like the little train that could says, I think I can, I think I can. Coping skills, taking deep breaths, learning how to laugh, cry, um, to sit with your emotions. Okay. Uh, and especially when we know that the probability may be high that we have a grief activator because we're going to be in these environments. Okay. Okay. Staying home is probably not the best option. Okay. But if you know you're going to be susceptible or prone to maybe there's something you can do to help you cope with it, and that's what this course is about. Okay. Now, uh, Lanish, you hit it on the head because I'm going to talk about in a minute. I'm talking about a grief playlist. Okay. Oh yeah, thank y'all for these ideas. Going on vacations, vacation together. These are some things you could do. Take a walk in the park. Okay. Sharon says her mother and grandmother always said, "This too shall pass." Betty Gary says, "Think of the good memories." Some positive self-talk. Okay. Think about something that made us laugh. Roz says, focus on the good memories. Hey, I think y'all should be teaching this class because you are doing an exceptional job. Okay. Uh, okay. Um, so Reverend Tyler says, like Sister Dickie says, vacationing with her sisters, and now they go on Christmas cruises. That's a wonderful thing that you can do to kind of keep the family memories going. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about now is something that people kind of don't even associate with grieving. Okay, but I'm going to talk about music. Okay, I'm not a musicologist, but I'm going to talk about a grief playlist. Okay, and what we want to suggest to you is this. Okay, that music can be healing. Music can help uplift your spirit. Okay, don't minimize the importance of having a good playlist. Okay? All right. Okay, so here we're going to use this list and make it big so you can see it at home. Uh, Below, create a playlist to support you through your grief journey. Think about this. What are some songs that always bring you to tears? Okay. Now, you might want to just take a snapshot of this page and work on it while I'm not around. Okay. Because there may be some songs that when you hear them, they put you in a melancholy mood. Okay. If you want to share some of them with us, we'd be glad to hear. What about some songs that reflect how you feel? You know, uh, what James Cleveland used to sing a song, I don't feel no ways tired. I've come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me that the road was going to be easy. and I don't believe that he brought me this far to leave me. That was kind of like my anthem. You know, I used to love it. It was like a funeral dirge, and it sang it real slow and hauntingly. But it was one of those songs that when I felt bad, by the time you get to the end of the song was kind of lifting you up, but it kind of was like talking to yourself. I don't believe that he brought me this far to leave me. And believe me, if you on your grief journey, God did not allow you to get on that journey to abandon you. Okay? Thank you, boy. Y'all got the songs all right. Okay, I shall wear a crown. Okay, great. These are great. Thank you so much. Folded Rose by Shirley Caesar. Awesome. Amazing Grace. I Won't Complain. And we had our own Kim Freeman sang that at Deacon Cowell's homegoing service. Okay. Forever by Jason Nelson. Oh, going up yonder. Some good stuff. Okay. Precious Memories. Wow. Your mother loves her children. Oh, walk with me, Lord. Walk with me. Wow. These are some, yeah. So guess what? You can find a lot of these songs on Spotify, Pandora. You can go on YouTube and you can find them. And you can also assemble your own playlist, okay? So that if you're feeling some kind of way, you can just play some of these songs that kind of help you. I'm Still Here by the Williams Brothers. Okay. Precious Lord, take my hand. Wow. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. So let me run on to next part. Uh, and we talk about creating a grief playlist. Okay, let me make this bigger so you can see it at home. Songs that say it better than I can. Okay. What about some songs that match your mood? Okay. You need to have in your playlist songs for you when you're happy, songs when you're sad, songs when you just feel like, hey, I just want to move around a little bit, songs that remind me of my loss. Songs the person I lost would like. What was their favorite song? Okay. With some songs that bring me comfort. Songs that you would play on a real tough day. You're having a tough time, but you know this song is going to lift you up, okay? Uh, I Am by Jason Nelson. I hope y'all taking out some of these songs in the comment field. God is, trust in the Lord. God is. All right, awesome. All right. Now, let's look at this one. Uh, Songs that make me dance and sing along. Okay, I have a song, y'all, that I do. Brenda be laughing right by now. Uh, it's called Jerusalem. Okay, it's about the one of the few songs that you'll see me dance on. That song can pick my spirits up. Okay, it's an African song with a little English mixed in there. It's got its own dance routine along with it. It, you know, it really does. I have a song that I used to listen to a lot when I needed. I would tell my preachers that as preachers we need to learn how to generate our own heat. Okay, you can't get up to preach and always expect somebody else to sing you happy, but you got to have something that can lift your spirit, so you can lift the spirit of the other people. And one of the songs I would like to hear was the lady was saying, "Holy Spirit, uh, you're welcome here." And that song would lift my spirit. So a lot of times on my way in, I would hear that and get myself pumped up. Didn't matter how bad the news was, didn't matter how down things were. When I got in front of the people, I had already got myself excited. Okay. All right. So yeah, so you need to have your own playlist. Okay. Songs how I hope I'm going to feel. Okay? So here, Elizabeth Jackson's, oh my goodness, old school, stop. Bigger Anderson, Tom Anderson said, I will trust in the Lord. Stand by Donnie McClurkin. That is a one great Deacon Anderson. That was one great song. After you've done all you can, stand. I've heard that song sung a few times at home go at celebrations of life. Okay, I put it like that because those folk I was preaching to weren't going home. But it is such a powerful song that you've done all you can. And doesn't that like going through grief? Stand. Okay. Gospel club songs. All right. So make your playlist. And then, when you get in the mood, no matter what it is, you got a song to match your mood. Okay. And don't underestimate the power of song to help you deal with grief and loss. Yeah, break every chain. Oh man, y'all, I tell y'all like gospel DJs up in here tonight. Yeah, these are all, and believe me, wherever you're listening, whatever culture you're at, find music that reflects where you are. Find some music that can elevate your spirit. Find some music that your loved one would have loved to hear. And find some music that can put you in a space where you want to be, even when you aren't there yet. And you'll be surprised how influential music can be in getting you to deal with your loss. Okay? Love country. I don't know if you're telling me the song is love country or I love country. Oh, Luther Vandross. Okay, now we got to quit because now, yeah, those kind of songs really, that, that's for my father again. And some songs you hear and you listen to the words and the lyrics. And that's one of those songs that we mentioned Luther Vandross's Dance for My Father Again. Is one of those songs where we talked about here, songs that say it better than I can. Okay, right at the top. Songs that say it better than I can. Okay, Jesus is love. Okay, all right. So, country music song, country love songs. Oh, country love country songs. Okay, so don't underestimate the power of creating your own playlist. Okay, so there's such a thing. You can create your own list, and you can have these on demand. If you got a phone, you know, you can just go in and dial them up whenever you want. Okay, what you call healing music mix for grief. Okay. And if you don't know songs, which ones to pick, you just go on YouTube and say, I want a healing music mix for grief. And this will come up. Or some other mix that somebody already put together. Different songs that help people deal with loss. Okay. Whitney Houston. Oh, I'll always love you. Oh my goodness. Yes, yes, yes. What a powerful that song. I hear that, and the other day, Brenda and I were in the car, and we heard that. For me, it's an emotional moment because sometimes you hear her voice coming from the radio. It sounds like she's about to jump in the car with you, and that she's still here. And wow! But what an expression of grief! I'll always love you. Okay. Yeah, she had a voice like an angel. If angels sang, she would definitely have that kind of voice. Okay. Uh, Elizabeth Jackson, I like the oldies but goodies, the 60s, 70s. So the idea is simple. Create your own playlist to help you because music can help you embody, validate, and express your emotions and feel connected with other people. Be surprised. Okay? Because all through your grieving, sometimes you weren't even aware that God sometimes buoyed you and held you afloat because of the power of song. And what if you were able to just have that playlist to get you out of those doldrums, to kick you in another gear, to slow you down when you need to slow down? Yeah. Okay. Hopefully that can help somebody. Okay. Now, we're going to talk for a moment about getting away from sadness. Okay. This is a scale. There's several ways that we try to avoid, get space from, or ease the intensity of our sadness. Some are more helpful than others. We talk about these. Score them from 0 to 5. 0 meaning never, 1 rarely, 2 meaning sometimes, 3 is frequent, 4 is most often, and 5 is always. Okay, so talk about dealing with this heaviness of grief, the sadness that pervades us. Okay, so I focus on the negative of whom or what I lost. Okay, never, rarely, sometimes, frequently, most often, or always. Okay, I don't let myself think about the loss. Where are you on that? Okay, rate yourself on these. Okay, I keep a journal and artifacts that help me feel close to whom or whatever I lost. Okay, I have a plan to create an annual ritual to honor my loss. Now, when Reverend Tyler was talking about her sisters going on a cruise, that is a something we encourage people to do. Create a ritual to honor your loss, your loved one. Okay, it may just be doing something that you knew they like to do, but you come around. Could be around birthdays, holidays, a special time, Mother's Day, Father's Day, whatever, and you say we're gonna do this in memory of. Okay, and you know, you probably don't want to be somber. You don't probably want to be too macabre. Maybe it could be something where you have fun, where you have memories and you can laugh and remember. Okay, or maybe it could be something as simple as going to the gravesite, laying a wreath, saying a prayer. You know, continuing, getting away from sadness. I get lost in work, exercise, entertainment, or other activities that keep me distracted. Uh, and we had our chart here. We said 0 is never, rarely, sometimes, frequently, most often, always. Rate yourself 0 to 5. I lean into my faith or spiritual beliefs for comfort. Rate yourself. I pursue new friendships and relationships to avoid feeling sad. I'm sorry. I blame myself. I blame others. Rate yourself. I reconcile myself to living with the loss. Okay? So I'm going to leave this up here for a second. You may want to just take a screenshot of this. Okay? And a lot of these exercises are really designed for you to do like one-on-one in your own private time. But we got a group of like 200-300 people watching. And so we're trying our best to get it where everybody can get a look at it and maybe take what part of it helps. Okay? So let me go back to the previous page, getting away from sadness. If you want to take a screenshot, you can. Okay? And now I'm going to go back to the page we were on before. Okay? Hopefully you got that screenshot. Okay? Great. Now we go to the next page. Okay? So now you want to rate yourself. You want to be honest with yourself. Okay? Lanice says the Grays wear yellow every Mother's Day. Wow. And I bet you when people see you all in your yellow, they probably ask why. Okay? And I know, Lanice, you're going to tell us why. Okay? But isn't that a tremendous way, if it is indeed a way to honor someone? Uh, you know, what is its significance? How did that start? The yellow every Mother's Day. I believe there's a story in there. Okay? Okay. Now, some key takeaways. Okay? It's helpful to acknowledge all the ways grief affects your emotions, your body, your mind, your community, and your way of viewing the world and your spirituality. So When you're grieving, it's not just emotional, it's physical, it's mental, it's relational, it's spiritual. Okay? This is what I want you to understand. You're getting a whole lot. Understand that the heart that God gave you is big enough to hold all the emotions and the experiences of grief. God created you with enough feeling and range of feelings to experience all the emotions that are connected to grief. Okay? You need to know this, that your heart needs a safe space. It needs self-care and support for you to cope well. Okay? So you got to take care of yourself. Restoration activities and self-compassion strengthen you to endure grief's heaviness. So we talk about restoration activities. We talk about going to the spa, going to the gym, uh, just going out to dinner, doing things that are going to make you feel good. Okay. Oh, I thought there was something to that. Yellow was my mom's favorite color. She was buried in a yellow suit. Wow, and what a way to honor her every Mother's Day for all the sisters, all the daughters to get together. The Grays wear yellow. Wow, thank you for that. Okay. Using metaphors for grief helps you describe and understand the full force of your grief. Okay. Remember, we talked about before, grief deals with our emotions, our body, our mind, our spirit. Uh, you know, and there's no one size fit all. It's very different. Okay. Now, for a few minutes that we have left, we're going to talk about sitting with your sadness. Okay. This is another emotion that comes with grief, is we sometimes feel sad. Okay. A lot of people don't know what to do with their sadness. Some people go turn to drugs, they'll turn to alcohol, they'll turn to licentious living, uh, they'll go off the rails morally because they don't know how to handle being sad. Okay, so when we talk about sadness and sitting with your sadness, what we're talking about is feeling your feelings, getting in touch with how you feel. Okay, are you ready? Let's roll it. Okay, now sadness is a hallmark of grief. Now, you know, we don't think that we're not asking anybody who's grieving to go around and put a joker smile or grin on your face. That's not really what we mean. But we mean, though, uh, people who grieve will have sometimes an intense uh, relationship with sadness. It's like, remember we talked about how heavy grief is? And sadness is like the outer garment of this grieving journey. So you got that weighty stuff on you, and then it's like you put on this overcoat of sadness. You can't help it. It's natural. It happens to every one of us. Even when we want to be chipper, even when we want to smile, there's something about us about grief. Okay? What's an emotion that you have a hard time letting yourself feel? Okay? I'll make that big. Okay? I know we run out of time, but I want to ask this question. What is an emotion you have a hard time letting yourself feel? Okay? Now, I got a few of them. Okay? But one is I have a hard time letting myself go. Okay? I'm always trying to protect Perry. So there are a long, wide range of emotions that I just don't sometimes trust myself with. So I just try to do my best to avoid them. But even with avoidance, sometimes I just can't seem to shake it. Okay? Is there an emotion that you have a hard time letting yourself feel? Okay? Now, I got to be honest with you. Got to tell y'all this as a pastor, as a leader. Sometimes, I see this all the time with other pastors and myself included. We often reserve ourselves. We often put ourselves in a special, unique place where we can uh, comfort others while needing comfort ourselves. Okay? A lot of times I preach funerals, I've been with families, I've been there with transition, I've experienced a loss, I've understood the grieving process, but it was hard for me to get on the grief journey because I didn't want to expose myself to some feelings. Am I making sense to you? Okay? So I want you to think about this. What is an emotion that you have a hard time letting yourself feel? Okay. Loneliness. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Takes a lot of courage to share this part, isn't it? It's real difficult. Okay. Because the reality is we don't want people to know that there's some things that we don't want to get close to. I don't want to get close to what it feels like to be out there by yourself. Okay. Uh, Having the openness to express my feelings sometimes. Absolutely. Okay. Anger. Now, thank you for sharing that, Gloria, because I won't be honest with you. That's the one emotion that I have a hard time expressing. Because I came up from a broken family. I've seen my dad angry. I've seen what I look like when I've gotten angry. And I've been trying to protect myself all my life from not going over that cliff. And sometimes, like when I lost my mom, I was angry. But I didn't want to give in to it because I didn't know where it would take me. Hard time expressing and dealing with that emotion. Okay. I have a hard time crying because I grew up like a lot of boys. We were told boys don't cry, men don't cry. Okay. So I have had significant losses in my life and have had difficulty crying because it was an emotion that I have a hard time feeling. Okay. All right. All right. So let's go on. Tips for handling sadness. Okay. I got 2 tips for you. Okay. Cry. Yeah, that's it. That's it. If you're listening to me, one of the best things that you could do when you get a space somewhere, whenever you get those triggers, whenever those grief activators come, cry. Why? Because crying is a natural healing superpower. That God gave you a supernatural power. And crying is not a sign of weakness, even though this culture has told men you're not supposed to cry. Little girl falls off the bike. She cried. Mommy, daddy comes pick her up, kisses the little boo boo, puts a band aid on it, holds her. You're going to be all right. Little boy falls off the same bike at the same age, and they tell him, don't cry. Boys, don't cry. And so at 6 or 7, he learned, you don't cry. Then at 12, he loses a significant parent, a grandparent, and they told him again, you don't cry. Then he gets married and goes through some stuff. He's a good young man now. He won't cry. So we have a lot of men who need therapy because we have been conditioned by this culture that crying is something wrong. Okay, let me share this with you. Well, let me run ahead. Got something I want to share with you. Okay, here it is. Did you know? Okay, humans are the only animals on the planet who shed emotional tears. In America, we are so jacked up and messed up, doesn't mean not matter whether you're black, white, Hispanic, whatever. If you are a male, you miss out on what God has given you, a supernatural healing power, because you don't cry, because you can't cry, because it's been suppressed in your spirit for so long till you don't know what to do. Okay, here it is. Tears of grief contain what they call leucine eckenphalin. Okay, it's an endorphin that reduces pain and improves the mood. Y'all know I'm right. Ladies, how many times have you had something happen and you just had a good cry? And after that cry, seemed like everything just started feeling a whole lot better because God has given humans a capacity that He didn't give everybody else, okay, to shed emotional tears. And when we shed those tears act like endorphins. They're like medicine for the heart, they're medicine for the soul. And how tragic it is that men don't get this medication. Sometimes I envy the fact that women can sit and they can sit with each other. They can cry in public and not be embarrassed. And as a man, I'm like, I don't know if I can handle somebody seeing me cry. Okay. So I'm being honest with you, just trying to be frank as I can with you. This is one of the emotional places that I really am bogged down on the grief journey. And I know whenever it comes, it's going to come like a tsunami because I've got a whole lot of people that I've lost that have impacted me in a real way. And I have not been able to do that. So we need to probably start thinking forward about what are we doing with our children, our grandchildren, our great grands when we tell the boys, don't cry. And then we wonder why they're emotional wrecks later on when they can't get in touch with their emotional side. So I will be perpetually on a grief journey. And I won't be able to complete the journeys. So I know I'm going to die with a hole in my heart. That's just the way it is. Okay. So just want to put that out. Okay. Now, okay, I'm at the end of the show, so I got to go. I'm sorry I went so late. But listen, I'll pick up on this one next time because we're supposed to do a study on a biblical character. We were supposed to do Jesus, but we didn't get to that. So on we're still collecting things to put together in baskets for Thanksgiving. We're gonna give out 100 baskets on next Tuesday at 3:30. The way it works is you have to be in the line. We're not holding baskets. We're not, saving nothing for grandma, for auntie. If you can't get in line, we're not doing it. Okay, per the pastor. Okay, so the only items that we really need, we got just about everything else. We don't know how many turkeys we're gonna have. We still believe in God that we're gonna have at least 100 to give out to at least one every family. We do need some instant mashed potatoes. Okay. We have most of the stuff on the list. Uh, we have enough to put together a basket for 100 families. Okay, that's our goal. Okay, so if you can help us out, we certainly want to let you know that we would appreciate whatever you could give to help make it this Thanksgiving uh, helpful and meaningful to some family. Uh, we're finding that more and more families are food, and it's a big issue. We see it every week. The lines get longer and longer, and we just want to say thank you for your support. Also, I want to say thank you to you for helping me to celebrate 27 years as pastor of New Hope Church. I cannot believe that 27 years ago, last Sunday, we started out on this journey. And God has blessed us, and He is still blessing us. And eye hasn't seen, neither ear heard what God has in store for those who love Him. Okay? Do you have any prayer requests? Let's go pray. Lord, we want to say thank you for today. Thank you for this time that we've been able to share together. Lord, we know grief and grieving and mourning and sadness are heavy, weighty subjects. Yeah, we would love to be talking about love and joy and gifts of the Spirit and other things, but God, some of us are we're feeling the weight of this. So we pray, God, that you would give us beauty for ashes. Take away this spirit of mourning and give us joy. Lord, we remember you saying, blessed are those that mourn, for they will be comforted. So Lord, we pray for your comfort. We pray for your peace, which only you give us. We ask that you would bless those who are sick, those who are in the hospital, those who recently lost loved ones, those whose losses have been, uh, uh, you know, some time and distance between them, but it hasn't lessened the hurt. We still feel the pain of absence. But Lord, we thank you for your promise that you would never leave any of us or forsake us, but you would be with us always. And to be absent in the body means that we are present with the Lord. Help us so live so that we might be able to see our loved ones again. Bless us now and keep us as our prayer. We ask it in the mighty name of our Christ. Well, my brothers and sisters, we got 2 more sessions to go, and we're going to finish up on navigating grief. Hopefully, we're giving you some things that can help you in a practical way deal with loss. But whatever loss you're dealing with, it is significant and it is important for you to go through this grief journey. My heart goes out to you. I extend my condolences to you. I commend you to Him whose promise is, I will never leave you. I'll never forsake you. I'll be with you always. May God bless you and may He smile upon you. Therefore, my beloved brothers and sisters, be steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, for as much as you know your labor is not in vain in the Lord. God bless.